I'm crashing out. Bro, I knew this was gonna happen and I'm already crashing out. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Rhea, this is Rhea Reads, and I just got Sunrise of the Reaping. I went to the midnight release. If you want to hear my thoughts going into this novel, be sure to check out my predictions video. With that being said, I'm just gonna hop right into it. Right off the bat, I have some things, and we're not even at the first page, but this is just the kind of things she outlines and the different kind of philosophers she's inspired from. And so for the George Orwell quote, she's talking about propaganda, and I think it's implying propaganda. It says, all propaganda is lies even when one is telling the truth. I don't think this matters so long as one knows what one is doing and why. So I guess propaganda in the arena, I don't know why this matters so long as no one knows. I don't think this matters so long as one knows what one is doing. So he's saying that even propaganda that has good intention is okay. And William Blake says a truth that's told with bad intent beats all the lies you can't invent. So I'm assuming that's like kind of thing. It's like no good content propaganda, and that really makes me think of the propos that Capital 13 used. And in here, it's Haymitch is gonna try to influence people in a good way, but it's still not great because it's still propaganda. And then we have Hume, which is easiness with which the many are governed by the few. And if it's, I think that means like no questioning is going to lead to submission. That's not necessarily like victim blaming, but you just have to be careful with who you're trusting, I assume. And then this entire quote that the sun will not rise tomorrow is no less intelligible a proposition and implies no more contradiction than the affirmation that it will rise. You can't predict anything. You can't predict the sun will rise, and you can't predict that it won't rise. And that's obviously at least a reference to Lenore and Haymitch's conversation about sunrise. Part 1 is the birthday. So is this entire part going to be about before the reaping? First page, right? First off, he wakes up in his birthday, and I cannot stress enough how horrible it is that his birthday's on reaping day, because not only does he have to watch kids get reaped, but even when he's mentoring, that's his birthday. Even him waking up on his birthday is a parallel to Katniss waking up. I don't know if I love this or not. And he wants to get to the woods, which is also another Katniss parallel. Sid says the sun's coming up, which I assume the sun is going to be a motif throughout this. And then he also says his dad died in a coal fire. So I don't know what it is about District 12 and dads dying in coal fires, but apparently that's super common. I wonder that, like, with the woods, if he's able to get the woods, are the woods legal? Haymitch also says if the reaping's done by 1, and assuming we're not part of this year's sacrifice, I can still finish the water by 3 and still see Lenore Delph. Collins, I'm coming for you. Third page. Haymitch says there's no point worrying. I tell myself there's nothing you can do about it, about the quarter claw. And that reminds me of him saying the games are still 100% stupid as usual. He says, don't give the capital that. And that reminds me of, they will not use my tears for entertainment. He crawls under the fence into the woods outside District 12. And I feel like every major event in the series happens in the woods at District 12. Like, we see Snow's dad gets murdered in District 12 woods. Obviously, Snow and Lucy Gray, the Covey hang out in the meadow. And that whole scene where Lucy Gray runs away is in the woods. And then it kind of spends a lot of time in the woods. And she's there in the meadow at the end. Like, everything happens in District 12's woods. Got confirmation that Lenore is Covey. Her uncle is Clerk Carmine. Y'all TikTokers are on something. Covey mention. I completely glossed this over the first time. He makes alcohol. That's like one of his like jobs. The lady like gives it to him as a gift. And he's like, oh, you're old enough to drink it today. Are we just gonna talk about his cycle of alcoholism? And then before that, Haymitch is talking about like, oh, like the peacekeepers are chill now. Like if we'd have a new stricter peacekeeper, like we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing now. So we're definitely gonna get a stricter peacekeeper. Haymitch is saying that Abernathys were known rebels back in the day, and we're gonna get a nurture versus nature debate. We got an Everdeen mention, guys. I'm literally only on page 7, and I've literally annotated so much. Haymitch is a friend named Burdock, and he saying that Burdock can sing well. So immediately I'm like, Cubby. Burdock says to Lenore, hey cuz. So, you know, he's part of the Covey, or at least they're, you know, whatever. I haven't processed this. Burdock ran off. Hold on, I've got a sack with my bow. Burdock ran off. I can't take the name Burdock seriously. I'm still in shock after we got an Everdeen name drop. I don't really want a Lucy Gray name drop, but at this point, I do. The whole conversation with Lenore and Haymitch and the whole David Hume philosophy, where it's like, you can't predict what's going to happen because of something that's happened. And that's part of our trouble, thinking things are inevitable and not believing change is possible. And I also think that's in relation to the ease at which many are governed by the few. And so we have that whole conversation where Haymitch is like, it's going to happen. Like, you can't change the fact that it's going to happen. Like, it's going to happen. I just want to, like, hug him and tell him that eventually it gets better. And so, first off, it says Burdock has a dozen of his arrow tips. So, I don't know if Burdock is Katniss's, like, grandpa or what's... No, we can't be grandpa. Is this because okay. Not grandpa, but... father? Wait, is Burdock Katniss's father? I did not expect that. I hate this symbol. I hate how it's connected, but it does have a point. It is actually a thing in the story, and it's a gift that Lenore gives Haymitch. I think it's gonna be his token in the games. Lenore is very rebellious, and she says the capital makes sure his Hunger Games is burnt into her brains. And, you know, I love Lenore, I already know. Literally page 14. The way Haymitch reuses clothes and everything reminds me of Snow. And it's the reason why they have to dress up for the reaping is because they have to show respect for the Capital War dead, even though there's no respect shown for district kids dead. And I hate how Sid is talking to Haymitch, and he's like, oh, we're gonna play later. I can't do this. And then we also get the mention of the apothecary shop, which is Katniss's mom. Is Katniss's father really named Burdock? Bro, that's tragic. He's going into the apothecary shop? Okay, I'm seated. I literally think we're getting Katniss's parents' backstory. I think Burdock is Katniss's dad. And I think whoever he meets in the apothecary shop right now, I think that's Katniss's mom. And I did not expect that at all. There's a sweet scent coming from a bunch of cameline flowers resting in a jar waiting to be medicine and tea. I know Burdock collected these in the woods. Is this how Katniss's parents met? I can't believe I saw Burdock Everdeen and did not piece together that this is Katniss's father. The place is deserted except for my classmate Astrid March. That's 100% Mrs. Everdeen. Astrid has a blonde braid. Like, that is Katniss's mother. Her name is Astrid March. Astrid and Burdock is crazy. That's 100% Katniss's mom. Bro, oh my god. Oh. And like, I'm literally 16 pages in. And we're getting so much. I didn't even show. This is the amount I've written for the scene. I had to write in this, and I've literally never done that before. It says that Burdock is nuts about her. I don't know how to feel, because I don't know how to feel about this fan service, because obviously I'm freaking out. So far, it kind of feels cheap. I did not think we were gonna get an Everdeen or Katniss's mother or whatever. Who else are we meeting? Is this it? There's no way Haymitch was friends with Katniss's dad and also knew Katniss's mom. And he says about Burdock. Bro, I can't with Burdock and Astrid. They sound like they're from How to Train Your Dragon. Like, he's got about as much chance with her as a Mockingjay with the Swan. He mentioned Burdock to Astrid and she blushed. Bro, no, we're getting Katniss's parents' origin story. I liked how Katniss's father was just haunting the narrative. I'm not mad at this. I just... Okay. Well, I'm gonna let the whole book play out, and then I'm gonna see how I feel. Because this is literally fan service. And I'm eating it up. I can't believe Haymitch knew Katniss's dad. That's what I'm freaking out about. What? It says, okay, the miners only get paid in scrip, and a lot of the stores, like, don't take it. Like, why are they... Bro, they're preying on their downfall. And first off, look at all the annotations. But Haymitch takes on 3 Tesserae, which is, unfortunately, a parallel to Katniss. And I don't know if I can take this. And let's talk about the Tesserae. I'm just reaffirming it's definitely something Snow invented. I love how Lenore Dove questions everything. My icon. I still can't with Burdock. Why is his name Burdock? Burdock and Astrid is crazy, but I can't believe that they were friends. And he never told Katniss that they were friends. Or maybe she never asked, but this is voluntary information you give somebody. But maybe he didn't want... Bro, imagine your, like, childhood friends' kids are in the reaping. Bro, I couldn't Haymitch just be antisocial. Why did he have to know so many people? I really can't do this. I still can't with Burdock. There's no way his name is Burdock. Haymitch says to Burdock, which, by the way, his nickname is Birdie. There's no way the father of the Mockingjay the Revolution is nicknamed Birdie. I can't. Usually I'm on board with Colin's names. I can't with this one. And he's, like, making fun of Birdie's crush on... What's her name? Astrid? No, they're supposed to be Mr. and Mrs. Everdeen. Why are we getting their names? They're talking about, like, the reason for the Hunger Games, and Haymitch says most of the people in District 12 weren't even alive then, but were sure who'd pay the price. And then also, when Macy Lee gets called, Haymitch says that her father is probably going to be the next mayor, and that's interesting because I always assumed that Madge's mom, aka Marilee, is that her name? I thought Marilee, like, married the mayor, because we know Madge's father is the mayor. So can you, like, pass off your mayor duties like that? What just happened? And boy number 2 is Woodbine Chance. What? I'm smiling because I don't know what's happening, and I did not expect this at all. This was, like, the one thing I thought I knew, is that Haymitch was reaped. I'm very tempted to go back to Catching Fire and read. I should do that, okay. Haymitch's name is called last of all. It's more of a shock to see him than my mother. Okay, I guess we don't get that much description on it, but it clearly says Haymitch's name is called last of all. Bro, this entire chapter was the build-up for Haymitch's name being called. What? Okay, I have to finish the page and then we'll go back. Okay, so I definitely read that wrong because I literally just finished chapter 1, but I thought that it was gonna be this whole thing of how this other guy's name was called instead of Haymitch. And I think what's happening is that this guy is resisting and they're just gonna call another name and it's gonna be Haymitch. So it's not the biggest plot twist I was expecting, but I also did not expect this. The opening chapters of the Hunger Games books are always like my favorites, and so I knew I was gonna eat this up. I just did not expect to get so much lore, and I did not expect to get both Katniss's parents name dropped, but also like mentioned. Haymitch knew them. Haymitch interacted with them. Haymitch was friends with Burdock. Okay, we get a Malark mentioned, bro. There's no way. Wait, okay, Otto Malark. Okay, why is his name Otto? But is that Peeta's dad? Is that the guy that liked Candace's mom, aka Astrid? It could be. It could be. She had to choose between a guy named Burdock and a guy named Otto. Like, bro. Okay, Lenore is such an icon for trying to help, and Haymitch is trying to help her. I don't like where this is going. Bro, no way. No way. Bro, pick a name from the bowl. Why? What? There's no way Lenore Dove dies right now. It's Plutarch. Bro, what? First off, Plutarch mentioned, and I don't like Plutarch now, but in general, I guess I do like him. But like, this is such a wild thing to say. So Plutarch was there this entire time. Oh, Haymitch has to hate Plutarch. I can't remember any interaction with Haymitch and Plutarch. They worked together for the rebellion. Maybe this is the start of Haymitch and Plutarch working together. He's processing this so well. I don't know how they do it. Like, I mean, he's saying he's just associating right now. Okay, I hate this escort lady. Drusilla, bitch. I did not expect Plutarch to be here. Because if anything, if he was here, why are we not getting his perspective? So Plutarch is like asking the Treves families to like react to that, and then they're like refusing to do it. Plutarch is insane though. Like what? Like, oh, you have enough footage. Oh. And then Haymitch saying goodbye to Sid. I can't. There's a lot of talk about like not letting the capital take you, and that reminds me of like the Peeta's, when Peeta's saying he's like, I don't want the capitals to do something to me, but that's a little bit different. But it's still like, I want to be myself. I don't want the capital to change me, and I love that rebellious spirit. And then I also think it's interesting that when he gets into the cars to go to the Hunger Games, it's better than the 10th Hunger Games, but it's still worse than the 4th Hunger Games. So we can see the like kind of in between conditions. Lenore's like final wail, and Haymitch says, I'm grateful for her final gift, that she's denied Plutarch the chance to broadcast our farewell. The moment our hearts shattered, it belongs to us. And in chapter 2 in general, I think it's so unfair. Like, obviously the bleeping isn't fair, but he was just trying to save his girl. And I still don't understand why they don't want to broadcast this, because I feel like showing what happens when somebody goes out of line is a type of propaganda, and I feel like they're handling it fine. All the propaganda stuff is insane, and I didn't expect Plutarch to be here so early, and this better be Plutarch's redemption. On chapter 3, first off, Haymitch is talking about how he's never going to see Lenore Dove again, and I want to cry. And he's talking about how everything's been taken away from him, and I want to cry. Every single book, they always talk about what's going on outside of Panem, and I don't think they're ever going to talk about it, because that's just not what the Hunger Games series is about. But I think it's interesting how it's always mentioned, and hopefully Lucy Gray made it out. Obviously they could be referring to District 13 too, but I think it's more so talking about like what's outside of the US or Panem. Haymitch's mom had a miscarriage with twins, and it's a Snow parallel because Snow's mom died when she was pregnant, and so there's like a loss of a little sister parallel. And Haymitch talks about how Mace Lee really likes jewelry, and we're gonna see where the pin comes in. And she tells if you let them treat you like an animal, they will, so don't let them. And I don't love her, but I also love how she stands up for herself, so I think that's cool. Haymitch wonders about District 12's first victor, and nobody really remembers her. It said, Lucy Gray will never forget you, and it says, I brought up her victor with Lenore Dove a few times, but she never wanted to discuss her. So, like, what does Lenore Dove know about Lucy Gray? Because if she didn't know about Lucy Gray, she would definitely want to know, because she's into, like, the whole rebellion thing. So, I don't know if we're gonna get more about Lucy Gray. I don't know. I feel like we could. The next thing is they're talking about how District 12 is going to have mentors, and the mentors are going to be like the victors from the other districts. And Haymitch is confused because he's like, how are they going to mentor us when it's like a bias thing? What's like, I don't know what it's called, but like you can't mentor another district because you should want your district to win. And that's my confusion too, because I've seen out there that like Chaff might be his mentor because of how familiar he is with District 11, and we know he's friends with Chaff, but like, isn't there like bias there? Plutarch is really getting on my nerves. I can't say I hate Plutarch because the revolution would not have happened without him, but I hate him now. Chapter 3, like, I would say the pacing is slower than I expected, because I guess the first third is gonna be before the games, second third is gonna be the games, third part is gonna be the aftermath, right? I'm gonna be so happy if I'm right. Start off with Haymitch's mom making cake, and God, the way Suzanne Collins describes food is so delectable. Like, I want to eat every single thing that Collins describes, every single book, and I don't know, she does it, but I also appreciate it because food is such an important thing in this series. I like the message so far of like not submitting yourself to all these like powers. I really love questioning systems. Also, I love Macely. I know she's rude. I love her. She's clocking that Drusilla bitch left and right, and I love her. You get a pin origin. Okay, so the pin was fashioned by Tim Amber 30 years ago and given to Macely, and she doesn't like Mockingjay, so she just put in a drawer, and we never hear from it again. Which I think it's so funny that him just talking about this, it's literally brought up so randomly too. I don't care. We get a pin origin. Chapter 5. So first off, I think it's interesting that the Capitol has the propaganda posters too, and I want to know what's going on in the Capitol because there's always like some talk, and that AVOC score one to get out, but I'll get to see how it's like not great for everybody, but like he's still pretty privileged, so I want to know what's going on in the Capitol. I don't know if we're gonna know. Haymitch and Noella definitely remind me of Katniss and Rue, and I hate it. Macely's bruises all over her body reminds me of Peeta's bruise on his cheek, and Haymitch is like, oh, leave it, like, it'll look better if they think you're bruised and you haven't gotten caught. And I'm also interested in preparing up Capital children and District children again for at least like the stylist or prep team. And at the end of the ballot, they said we're not going to involve like Capital children with District children. Maybe that was specifically for like mentorship. Update on chapter 5. They're getting prepped, and all the boys are getting like their facial hair taken off and everything. And I know Katniss is thinking about this and like catching fire or something, and I think they're just trying to make them look like kids. So it's really apparent that this is like humanity at its core. I love Lenore Dove. She reminds me so much of Lucy Gray, but also like Joanna. Like, she's very rebellious. We never had like a true like rebellious person because Katniss was very reluctant to be rebellious, and then like Lucy Gray didn't do things for rebellion either. She was just doing things on her own. Lenore is specifically doing things for rebellion, and I love that for her. And she reminds me of Sejanus, so I love that. And she's saying that she wants to be a bird, which I'm just saying there's gonna be some bird symbol imagery theme. Can't believe they burn the tribute's clothes. before they give them the new ones, and it's like, I don't know what, like, just throw them away. Why do you have to burn them? I'm pretty sure Luella just died, which I just should have seen that coming right now. Luella and Haymitch already have done the entire thing where it's like, you mean to the end. I can't. Chapter 5 is a whole interesting, and we get to see what the circumstances are in their like prep and everything. I like it because we get to compare it to Katniss's time and also kind of Lucy Gray's time. The scene where Haymitch, I'm like kind of crying right now, okay? The scene where Haymitch takes her body, goes through like the whole parade, which already, it's insane that she dies in the parade, which is like, that's 100% not supposed to be somewhere you can die from, and that's so frustrating. Like why? What, you can't, like, why? They like literally, I don't even know, I couldn't really understand what was happening with the parade because I didn't really know why it was like structured like that, but it's because they literally don't care if a tribute dies in the parade. He sees it and he carries her body, he goes through like the parade or whatever, he places the body so that Snow can see it on his balcony. I hate Snow, but I know this scene is gonna be so good in the movie. It reminds me of Rue and Katniss and how Katniss like places all those flowers and like makes sure everybody knows what they're doing to Rue. It also reminds me of the Ballad movie when Reaper like takes down that flag and everybody gasps and he's like yelling at the camera. And Haymitch says for the Capitol, they don't want to feature this death on the Capitol's watch unplanned and highlighting their incompetence. This is not the blood they want to paint their posters with. Oh, I hate Snow. Our eyes meet and a smile plays on his lips. Like, why is he smiling? What the? I have not impressed him with my performance. The reckless mountain boy with the dead girl in his arms seems foolish, a trifle amusing, and nothing more. And Haymitch also thinks, and someday someone will knock you off it straight into your grave. Wiress is one of the mentors? Wiress, bro, I did not expect Wiress. Especially because, like, Haymitch has no reaction to Katniss wanting Wiress as an ally. I love Amber, the little District 3 kid who's, like, trying to go to Haymitch and ask him to be an ally, and he's, like, saying all this stuff, and Haymitch is just, like, agreeing with him, humoring him. I love him. I'm not ready for whatever happens to him. And Haymitch isn't either because he doesn't want any more allies. Wiress's games, I mean, she's pretty smart. She just, like, she just, like, stayed in the same place the entire time, which is smart, you know, and she didn't have to kill anybody. That would be my ideal games. Oh my god, is Mags one of the mentors? So basically, Mags is superior and I need her book. Other than that, I did not I'm only like halfway through this conversation, but I wanted to react to it. And so I didn't expect Haymitch to be so rebellious in the sense that he wants to make the Capitol own what they're doing to us. I want to remind people I'm here because the Capitol won the war and thinks that 50 years later that this is a fair way to punish the districts. But I'd like them to consider the 50 years as enough. So you want to make them end the Hunger Games for good. And then he asks for human rights, essentially. He's like, oh, like, they shouldn't treat us like animals. Basic human rights. And I'm so interested to see how Haymitch evolves with this, because we know in 74th Hunger Games, he's so done. He's so done. He does not want to deal with anything. At this point, he wants to do something. He wants the games to be over. And I wonder if we're gonna get insight into how he and Plutarch go into the rebellion. I just really didn't expect him to say, I want the Hunger Games to end, because that's always something you think, and he wants to do something about it. He wants to do something in the games that shows them that it should end, and that's not what I expected. The worst thing about the Capitol is that they just won't admit that they're killing people who are people. You know, they're not animals, they're not lesser than, they're people. White says, yeah, force them to admit that we're people too, and they're the beast for killing us. Now they're talking about us swarding the arena, which is unfortunately something Haymitch does. So Haymitch just got to do something else. He's got to do something else. And the Capitol just spins it as he was like messing with the arena. It's gotta be this. It's gotta be like some kind of showcase to plead with the Capitol to stop this and plead their both his and their humanity. At the end of chapter 7, I think, and it's when like in the training center and he is attacked by Punish. Enough peacekeepers take him away, and him and this other tribute will like look at each other and realize that they outnumber the peacekeepers, and they're like really thinking about rebelling, and then it's just like too late. Plutarch sees it, and I wrote, "Boo, get out." Because Haymitch is like, the more I think about it, the more my dismay grows. Every year them herd us into their killing machine. Every year they pay up and no price for the slaughter. They just throw a big party and box up our bodies like presents for our families to open back home. And then Plutarch enters in, and I'm like, boo, get out. And it's just like this is so interesting because we've never seen tributes rebel against the game that much. Like even before it started, like Katniss was only in survival mode. She only cared about surviving, and if that was playing with like what the Capitol wanted, it was what she's gonna do. Ideally she wouldn't want to do the star-crossed lovers thing, but that's what gets her survival. And it's interesting because Haymitch also only cares about survival. He like at 74 Hunger Games, he does not care what like every character has, you know what I mean? He tells Katniss and Peter to like lie. He does not care about who they are inside anymore, and that breaks my heart. But I really hope that Katniss and Peeta inspire him to get back in the rebellion. It's crazy that like they want to rebel. Haymitch wants to rebel. Haymitch has been having to be the mentor for 25 years, and we don't know how that goes yet, but in this case, when we meet him, he does not care. He's not trying to rebel. Now, at this point, he is complicit in the system, which is what he was fighting against this entire time. Okay, literally just start of chapter 8, and Plutarch is like, oh, so why do you guys, like, listen to what the Capitol says? And, bro, what? This is like me when I first read the first chapter of the Hunger Games, and I was like, why can't you just all move to the Capitol? Like, bro, it's not that simple. He's like, why do you submit to it? And he's like, it's not really about the God, it's not really about the power. Like, he's like, you accept the Capitol's condition. I'm like, accept is crazy. Accept is crazy. I need Plutarch to go radicalize himself immediately. But like this entire like submission thing, it's David Hume's philosophy thing. The whole like governed by the few thing. It's not their choice. Or is it? But I would argue it's not. We get a BD mention, which is something I also did not expect. Are we just seeing everybody that we knew? Are we just like, is it a coincidence that Katniss chose all these people for alliances? Is it? First off, Ampher is BD's son. Oh shit. I just realized Ampher is a tribute. I was like, oh, why doesn't BD have a son that we know about? Well, he did. And this is what Katniss is talking about when she's talking about, like, the children of previous victors getting reaped. Oh, shit. I don't really care if it's fan service, because I'm gagged. Did not expect Wirus, Mags, or Beatty to show up in the 50th Hunger Games. And the fact that Beatty has to coach his own son is crazy. It's because I'm punished for coming up with a plan to sabotage the Capitol's communication system. Bro, wait, are we seeing the start of the rebellion? Because, bro, there's no way you get Plutarch, Beatty, and Haymitch in a room, and it's not about the rebellion. I feel like I'm reading fan fiction, and that's not an insult. I genuinely just did not expect Collins to include so many people that we knew. I'm still gagged by Katniss's parents being mentioned at all. Chaff has still not made an appearance yet, which he might. Chaff was like the one victor I thought we would see. Chapter 8. So first off, we start with the whole discussion of submitting to the few and like, is it your choice or not? And Plutarch's role of like being the propaganda person is interesting because that's something we've never seen before. Like in Katniss's time, they don't have something like that. And I wonder why that is. I also feel like Plutarch could be covering something up, you know, that he's like actually trying to understand what the districts are going through. I'm just holding out hope that we get Plutarch redemption arc, because I don't want to dislike him, but I don't like him, so. And then obviously I was talking about Beatty and the fact that he has to mentor his child is crazy. I never thought about that when Katniss was saying the whole like children of victors gets reaped. And that's great. Like, dude, the Capitol loves to punish Beatty. Like I said, he was in his own Hunger Games and he won, and now he has to mentor his son, and his son's gonna die, and then he has to be at the Court of Quell. He probably also has nothing to lose. Beatty also says that he was Wyers' mentor, which means, I don't know if they said that in Catching Fire, but that means in the Court of Quell that there were two mentor-mentee pairs, Finnick and Mags, and Beatty and Wyers. And oh my god, having to fight alongside your mentor has to be crazy. Haymitch has to like go somewhere, and it says, it seems the president had second thoughts about your performance. And I hate the snow. I don't want to face snow at all. I don't want to face snow at all because I'm, oh my god, he just makes me so mad. Hello, it's the next morning, and I read chapter 9, and I'm just gonna recap it here. First off, Plutarch is offering Haymitch a drink, and Haymitch is saying he doesn't drink, and I hate to see what's coming. And then we have a whole conversation with President Snow, and I love that President Snow is suffering, and then when Haymitch has a chance to help him, he doesn't. Slay. I hate President Snow. And he's literally threatening Lenore Dove. And he's like, I know about the cubby, and about girls who sing, and birds. And I'm like, I hate you. I need you to get out. Chapter 10. So basically, they're replacing Luella with this reprogrammed girl, and that's horrible and insane. Haymitch is gonna have to lose this girl twice. It's crazy. Beatty comes to Haymitch and he's like, are you serious about breaking the arena? Which, this is something I did not expect in this book. I didn't expect this book to be about actually rebelling in the 50 Hunger Games. I thought Haymitch was gonna be complicit in these games, and then like later he would realize to rebel. But the thing is, this doesn't go well, obviously, but it probably is the start of the rebellion between Beatty, Plutarch, Haymitch. Chapter 11. So Beatty and Haymitch are talking about how to break the games, and it's very interesting. I hate knowing that it's not gonna work. I think the tone is more similar to Ballad because you know that it's like inevitable, whereas like when you're reading the original trilogy, you know that something is gonna like spark a revolution. And the way I'm feeling, I've never felt this way about the Hunger Games before. I don't know how to describe it. It's like so dark. I've always loved the series for how honest and dark it is, but I just feel like this is darker. Maybe it's because it's 48 tributes. Maybe it's because Haymitch actually wants to rebel, which is something we've never seen before. And the fact that I know that it doesn't end well, because in the original trilogy, you know Katniss is the main character, so you know she's gonna end up okay. And then for Snow, you know he's the president, so you know he's gonna end up okay. But for Haymitch specifically, you know that he's not gonna end up okay. Beatty losing his son is so sad. I can't, like, I love Beatty. Like, you know, like Edward is so cute too. Like, and I love how Haymitch wants to get rebellious too because he wants to honor Lenore. And I just wish they could do it together, but we don't know. Maybe they are more of it. Maybe. And then it literally just casually mentions Burdock and his family, and it says his ma. And so is his ma Maud Ivory, or like anybody from the Cubby? You know, he's related to the Cubby on his mom's side, so his mom could be Maud Ivory, or I don't know, some other Cubby person. But it also says the Everdeens could afford it on account of being hunters, and that just makes me so happy to know that Katniss is carrying on her family's thing. The High Capital took so much from them, but yeah, the Everdeens still have like this reputation for being hunters, and I love that for them. Haymitch tries to sing, and I think it's so funny how the District 12 victors sing Lucy Gray will never forget you. Haymitch is like coming up with a plan. He's like, oh, I'm gonna come up with a plan and it's gonna work and I'm gonna work it myself, and he ends up getting a 1. So funny. Because when Katniss saw Haymitch's interviews, she was like, oh, it must have been easy for him to build a brand. I think they're gonna get into the actual game soon, and so I think the entire qual is gonna take place in part 2 too. I really want an aftermath, and I think that's what we're gonna get. We're focusing a lot more on like the transition and like training for the games than I thought we would, and so far I'm not mad at it. I just really want the aftermath, because my interpretation of Sunrise and the Reaping is it's about cycles, and if we're not getting at least one cycle, like if we're not getting at least Haymitch mentoring next year's tributes, then I don't know where the Sunrise and the Reaping is coming from, because it's like every year there's gonna be reapings, or is there? Chapter 12. Maceley and Haymitch are talking about her jewelry, and she's talking about how she doesn't like the Mockingjay pin that she has. Haymitch is like, oh, it's like Mockingjays are a symbol of rebellion, and now she likes him. She's like, oh, we'll give its pin a second chance. And don't you worry, girl, your pin is gonna be a very big part of something. And they're discussing how to do their interviews, and Drusilla tells Haymitch, she's like, you have to be rebellious without actually being rebellious. And I said performative actism. And the next thing is the prep team is like freaking out because the stylist won't show up, and they're like, oh my god, like we're gonna get bad grades. And Haymitch and like all the other district people are like just like staring at them like, what is wrong with you? Like, people are dying. And the way the Katniss's prep team reacts is like the exact same, and they tell the tributes to keep a positive attitude. And then their stylist doesn't come, and so this woman enters the room, and is it Tigress? We had an Effie origin. Effie is Proserpina's sister. What's it? Wait, is Proserpina? Okay, wait. When she's first mentioned, is her name Proserpina Trinket? It doesn't say her last name. Okay, so Effie is the sister that. My sister's amazing. I was so curious who the sister was, because I said they have like so much random emphasis on her. I did not think we were gonna get Effie origin. What? Bro, we're getting everybody in this book. You thought this is just Haymitch's book? No. We're getting everybody. I think Chaff is gonna show up. Who else? At this point, I think we're gonna get a Lucy Gray mention. I think Lenore, or I think he's gonna find out what happened to Lucy Gray. And I don't like that, but I just didn't know that was something we could get. So right now I'm not mad. Continuing on in chapter 13, Haymitch's ankle is gonna be the Rascal, which I was interested in. Why are they choosing the Rascal? But I think they want him to kind of seem like a rebel, but like not actually. So that makes sense. And then we go through the interviews, and 40 interviews in a row is crazy. And the way they treat the careers, they pretty much like, I mean, every district is like stereotyped, you know? And so it becomes easy to like hit on the things that the districts don't have. Like the career districts are like big and strong, but they aren't necessarily smart. And so the Capitol makes fun of them for not being smart, even though they wanted them to be big and strong. I love Maceley's interview where she just clocks people in the audience to this guy who wore like money on his suit, and she says, "That's sweet, you wore all of your friends tonight." I would never leave my house again. You just said, a desire for freedom is not limited to the districts, and your misfortune does not give you the right to assume so. So Plutarch is like, it's not as black and white as we thought. And Plutarch is definitely gonna be he is gonna be rebelling, but we also know whatever he does here, he ends up head game maker of the 75th games. So he stays on good terms with the capital while also being in the revolution. Lenore. They get to see each other again. Okay. 13. We get an Effie origin. We get them trying to market themselves for their interviews in a way that the capital wants. And then we get the interviews and the entire thing of like pitting the districts against each other and like making fun of the districts when these stereotypes were forced upon them in the first place. And then we have Haymitch's interview, which I don't have a good feeling about, especially since we only get Katniss only sees the first part, so like the second part is definitely erased because they don't want everybody to know that you can do illegal things in districts. And we also get Plutarch mention of him not being happy with the way the capital is, and then we get Norda. I'll say the pacing was slower than I expected. Again, I have to see at the end of the book. Hopefully we get aftermath. That's all I'm asking for. All I'm asking for is for Haymitch to go through a cycle, because that's what I thought Sunrise was saying. Plutarch just let Haymitch talk to the landlord, and after they hung up, he's like, Haymitch, more importantly, I need you to trust the information I'm about to give you. What information about how to break the arena? From the capital's perspective, the games are the best propaganda we have. You tributes, you are stars. You carry it out, but only if we control the narrative. Don't let us. No more implicit submission for you, Haymitch Abernathy. Plutarch is giving Haymitch information, so I think it's safe to say that he's on the rebellion at this point. I don't know why we didn't get a Plutarch book, and I'm not saying that I don't want a Haymitch book, but if we got Snow's perspective for the first time, Plutarch's perspective for this time, I feel like that would have worked. And then maybe we got McCoy's perspective. Like, I think that trilogy could have been really good. I want to know what happened to Plutarch got him so radicalized, other than just like watching it. But you know, he benefits from the system, and whatever he's doing now leads him to be the head game maker. So he's really double-sided. We also got an AI mention, the ability to replicate any scenario using any person. And I did not think we'd get an AI mention. I just want to talk to Suzanne Collins, because I feel like I know what's going on in her head, but I clearly don't. I just want to talk to her. Chapters 15 and 16. So in chapter 15, it's like when they're getting ready to go in the arena, and Effie's the one that like fixes Haymitch up right before he goes into the arena. They have such a deeper relationship than I thought. And then he goes into the arena, he like deals all the poison and everything. Chapter 6, where was I? And it's just so interesting to be back in the games. Like, it feels like I'm reading the Hunger Games over again. And it's so interesting this time around too, because Haymitch isn't really focused on his survival. He's focused on blowing up the arena, and that's so different than Katniss. But even, you know, his advice that he gives out is stay alive. The advice he gives for everybody else is just focus on yourself. When he himself is in the arena, he's thinking about how to protect everybody. Haymitch is talking a lot about like performance and whether or not he's like entertaining enough, and his angle of being a rascal, not a rebel. And then Lulu comes and finds him, and then she basically, she's like dying, and so Haymitch takes off her pack. And I can't do this anymore. We already lost Luella once. Like, I knew this was coming, but like, I can't. Haymitch and Luella, he like tries to like not let the capital take her body, but then they send these vicious butterflies. But then he finds like where they come from, and he's able to like do that thing. I don't know what their plan is though, because I know they explained it. I don't understand. It doesn't matter if I understand though, because they're just trying to break the arena. But I still don't understand why they're trying to break the arena. because breaking the arena isn't going to stop the games. Obviously, I know that this doesn't work, but just in general, I don't understand how breaking the arena stops the games. Because, like, when Katniss broke the arena in Catching Fire, she didn't have a plan either, so I don't get that, but they were, like, trying to get her out anyway. If he breaks the arena now, like, they could all just be stuck in the arena. Like, they're not gonna get out. I don't understand what his plan is, and I think it's noble that he's trying to break the arena and trying to break the cycle, but I just don't understand what the actual plan is. He meets Amber, and they kind of, like, figure out he, like, puts the explosive on the water, and then when he puts the explosive, I'm pretty sure, like, the capital chooses then to, like, send more animals, and that's horrifying, because I'm imagining him just, like, in a tunnel with, like, water, and then, like, somewhere, like, these birds are, like, flying at him. That's gonna be horrifying in the movies. And Amber dies because he's attacked by, like, squirrels or something. And it's, like, another parallel to Katniss and Rue. But at this point, it's just, like, Katniss and Haymitch just have so much attachment to, like, 12-year-old little tributes who can't actually survive in the arena. And I can't do either. And then the arena, like, glitches for a little bit, and Haymitch celebrates, and he's, like, singing, and I did not expect that. But then it, like, then the arena goes back to normal, and then Haymitch is like, oh. And again, I don't know what his goal is, because breaking the arena doesn't mean they're gonna stop the Hunger Games. And again, like, I'm disappointed, because at this point, I wanted the games to be over. I wanted the third part to be him going back to 12, and then, like, time jump, and then, like, a mentor. It doesn't seem like that's gonna happen. And so the propaganda thing is an interesting message, but ultimately I feel like you could do more with it. All propaganda is lies, even when one is telling the truth. Like, I don't know, we've gotten propaganda, like the Plutarch stuff, and, like, the way they frame the games. I thought it'd be, like, a twist, because obviously we don't like the Capitol and the way they use propaganda, but I thought it'd be, like, a twist on the way that the tributes use propaganda. And they kind of do, like, propaganda in terms of, like, marketing yourself. Is that the kind of propaganda we're talking about? I'm not sure. We still have the William Blake quote that a truth that's told with bad intent beats all the lies you can invent. And I thought there was going to be, like, commentary on, like, how the rebellion uses propaganda, but we haven't gotten that yet. And then we've kind of gotten the easiness in which the many are governed by the few, which is, like, Plutarch is asking, he's like, why do you guys submit to this? But I still think that's a weak argument, because they don't have a choice. Like, I only have one part left, right? I thought the first part was amazing. I thought the second part was just not what I wanted to see. Like, at this point, we haven't even gotten... He still hasn't work in the arena. I think the most important thing is we need the Masonry team up, and we need to see how he like, goes to the arena, and the force field thing, and then how he beats the district, the one girl or whatever, and how, like, the aftermath when he gets back, I assume is going to be important. I don't know how much you can get done in 100 pages. I just feel like because, like, I'm not complaining the Hunger Games aren't entertaining. I'm just complaining about what we don't get to see. And I don't know, because I really, really loved the first third, and I was on the edge of my seat, but the second part, I am just confused, and I don't know where this is going. I'm pretty sure I'm, like, halfway through part 3, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm disappointed in how much games we get to see. Like I said, I really wanted to see the aftermath, and I really don't think we're getting that. We're not even done with the games. I don't even understand why the games take such a big part too, though, because everything is dragging out, and there's a couple plot twists, like how Haymitch wants to destroy the arena, and then had the game makers come in. I think the thing that was tripping up is part 1 is so good. Part 1 is like 5 stars, and I always love part 1 of all the books. But I also usually like part 2. I'm disappointed, and I'm gonna get more into that after I finish. I do still enjoy it. I just wanted something different, so it's hard for me to process what's happening. Okay, but I literally haven't updated since part 3, and that's because not a lot has happened. So, and like I can't really say a lot because it's just Haymitch thinking the same thing over and over again. So it's also just getting repetitive. And I don't understand this plan with the arena at all, because like I said, if you destroy the arena, that's not gonna stop the games. So I don't really know what's happening. But then in chapter 20, I think that's when Haymitch and basically team up, and I love that. And Mags sends them food. I love Mags. Haymitch and basically our family, and Haymitch calls her sis. They can never make me hate Miss Lee. She's also super rebellious, and she says one of us has to be the worst victor in history, tear up their scripts, tear down their celebrations, set fire to the victor's village, refuse to play their game. And I can't. See, the thing is that trips me up is like they're like, oh, if we're so bad, if the arena is bad, if our games are bad, then they're gonna stop doing it. And I don't think that's how it works. And obviously, hindsight, we know that whatever they do here doesn't work. But I think they're trying to find some kind of justification for why the game should end. But I don't think they understand that the capital does not care. And Haymitch is just surprised he's alive, and so am I. I think Mace's character is interesting too because she is so proper and prim, and it's because she wants to showcase to the capital that district people aren't barbaric and they're just like regular people, better than the capital even. And I think that's very interesting. Then we have the part where the game makers come. The game makers are here to like, I don't know if I actually understand this. The game makers are here and they say you have to withdraw, there'll be repercussions. Marie kills one of them, and then Macely also kills one of them, I think. And that reminds me of like Snow and Sidings going into the games, but then like the tributes just attack them. Macely's mad at Haymitch for not being on her side, and he's like, oh, like he's just frozen. He says he's programmed to be walked all over, and I think that's talking about the easiness in which the many are governed by the few. And then after that, Macely's talking about how her grandmother said nothing they can take from you was ever worth keeping. The secret will never forget you. They figure out like the force field. So I'm just waiting for the game makers to get involved again, right? Because they literally killed the game makers. So I don't understand how they're still alive. I'm not gonna lie, but this is dragging out too much for my liking, and I'm getting to the point where I'm just not invested. I am having a good time with this. It's just that the first part was so good that the second part was like fine, and the third part, I was holding out hope for the third part, but the third part is also fine so far. And I really want to like this better than Ballad. I just assumed this book would take place for after the games. And that's what Sunrise and the Reaping represents, like the many reapings that Haymitch has to go to. However, I don't know if I was just reading that wrong. I have read a couple chapters, and for chapter 23, after Macely and Haymitch like talk, and they're like, oh, like we should say goodbye, like we don't want to be the last ones left. And then that's, from Katniss's perspective, that's the last we get of them, and then she walks away. But in this, what actually happened was that they heard canon and they're like, wait, we should actually like think about this more. So she like walks away. And so essentially what Katniss watched was like a shortened version of what actually happened, and that they were still allies when Haymitch ran over. The bird like punctured her throat, I'm pretty sure, So literally silence her voice. Haymitch says, I just stare into those burning blue eyes, letting her know that she's not dying alone. She's with family. She's with me. In the last moment, she releases her grip enough to lock her pinky around mine, looking, I think, for final confirmation of the promise we made to each other. I nod so she knows I understand, and that I will try my best to bring the capital down, although I've never felt so powerless in my entire life. Mag sends some ice cream. Then he keeps hearing a bicycle bell. He's trying to go and see Welly. I love how Haymitch gets like chocolates, and then he notices that the District 1 girl is right beneath them, and so he like drops them so she can eat them, and that's so sweet. For chapter 24, he is like trying to save Welly. He gets sent milk, and he's not sure who it's from. And if I was me, I would just drink it. I would be so stupid. But he is like, oh, look, Plutarch wouldn't send this to me. This has to be Snow. And so he's like debating on what to do with this milk. But then when he's doing that, Silka kills Welly, and she says she has to kill everybody because it's the only way she gets back to my people. He wants neither of them to survive because he doesn't think the game breakers are gonna let him win. So he's on the question. I just feel like, regardless of what Silka says, I feel like he would want somebody to go home. I don't know, Silka like literally killed his friends, but I feel like Haymitch wouldn't kill both of them. I don't know. So that just doesn't make much sense to me. He's trying to like make an explosion and like possibly kill himself. I just don't know why. Because at this point, the explosion isn't gonna do anything. He already won. Maybe he just wants to die in the arena and not die, like however the capital wants him to. But if this is like for a statement, like the games are over. I don't know. I don't really understand it, but I don't know. We still have a little bit left. Haymitch he won the games now. He's like in the apartment afterward by himself. It really reminds me of Katniss after Mockingjay after she kills Coin, and she's like in that place for like days, and she's not great mentally, and Haymitch is just like trying to process what happened, and then he realizes that he isn't dead yet, but like something's probably gonna happen, and also that he's gonna have to like provide entertainment to districts from now on because he's a victor. And he says like everything he did back home is to protect his loved ones, so he especially doesn't think he's gonna get out of this scot-free. Their television glows. On screen, a girl in a rainbow of ruffles sings a familiar tune with unfamiliar words. I assume this is Lucy Gray singing like at the interview portion about Billy, right? I'm just confused because I thought they erased everything about Lucy Gray. I don't know if I love this because it's not like a direct mention of her. I don't know if this is better. Somewhere in the past few weeks, oh, he's been there for weeks. Somewhere in the past few weeks, my nails have turned to claws, my hair to fur. I've killed multiple times and preserved no life but my own. I left the simple district piglet and returned as the murderous beast that they always suspected lay in wait. I can't see with that. Sad, but like, Effie's like, oh, I know you wouldn't hurt me, Haymitch, and then she's like, but they really are for a greater good, the Hunger Games. Now she's lost me. Effie. Not the FD lore, but like she's not good in the original series either. She like tells Katniss and Peter like, oh, lucky you two like know how to eat properly, like the last people were such savages. I'm like, oh girl, I need you to go radicalize yourself like your ancestor. Finally, Mags arrives in a wheelchair while a still mobile but distressed Iris twitches her head about in a bird-like fashion, a ready stream of words spouting from her lips. Very bad things have been done to them. Mag spots me and tries to rise before she's shoved in her chair. No reunion for us. No. I just read the chapter where Haymitch gets crowned the victor, and Haymitch notices that Plutarch's footage isn't there. And I wonder if that footage is for the rebellion. it's revealed that, like, the arena looks like an eye, which, like, I think that scene would go so hard in the movies. And then Snow crowns him. I hate him. The thing about this propaganda message is that I'm disappointed in this perspective. You've already gotten themes about propaganda and Mockingjay. The whole thing about District 13 versus Capitol and the ways they were similar is the ways they both used propaganda. Part 2 and the first part of part 3 dragged. And so it was just saying the same things over and over again, like I'm doing now with this book, because I keep on thinking more is gonna happen, and so far it hasn't. So for Haymitch's victory party, he is being put in a cage, and people are literally feeding him from the cage, and like taking pictures of him, and it reminds me of the tributes in the zoo. But this is like after he's won, is crazy. And then we found out that Lenore isn't safe. She was never safe in the first place. And so Haymitch is like really adamant about, okay, like, now I have to do whatever they say. I'm gonna be their puppet. And he has to ride home with the coffins of District 12. So Ma and Sid are being burned alive. He was so happy to see them. I don't even care that Burdock is there. Lenore got sent gumdrops that were red. He puts it in her mouth. There is no, he survived his games. He survived his games. I'm crashing out. Bro, I knew this was gonna happen and I'm already crashing out. It's the fact that he used to witness both of these two. Fuck you, Snow. Oh my god. Bro. Oh my god. We just got confirmation that Lucy Gray is dead. I'll talk about chapter, what is this, 27? Like I said, he's like crashing out, and he sees the tombstones, and further crashing out, and now we know why he knows that District 11 building so well, and it's the start of like Plutarch and Haymitch is alliance. Epilogue. I don't know, I saw Peter's name, so that's something I did not expect to see. I first saw the girl at the hall when she was just a baby. Burdock was so proud of her, he toted her around everywhere. After he died in that mine explosion, she started coming alone, trading the old squirrel rabbit, tough and smart, her hair in 2 braids then. After she volunteered for the games, that nickname couldn't help but slip out. I didn't want to let them in, her and Peter, but the walls of a person's heart are not impregnable, nor if they have ever known love. That's what Lenore says anyway. I didn't want anything to do. I didn't want to have anything to do with their memorial book after the war. What use? What point to relive all the loss? When Burdock's page came up, I had to mention him showing me the grave. And I felt compelled to tell them about Maisley Donner, former owner of the Mockingjay pin, and how Sid loved the stars. Before I knew it, they all came tumbling out. Family, tributes, comrades in arms. Everybody, even my love. I finally told our story. Katniss mentioned, no way! A few days after that, Katniss showed up with an old basket filled with goose eggs. She was the one who finally kept that sun from rising. Peter fashioned some kind of incubator, and when the eggs hatched, mine was the first face those gooselings saw. Sometimes they just graze on the grass, but on fine days we've been known to wander on over to the meadow. Lenore Dove likes it best there, and I'm content where she's content. Like the geese, we really did mate for life. I'm not sure I'll be here in the old there before much longer. My liver's racked and I can only dry out when the trains leave. I drink differently these days, though, less to forget, more out of habit. When my time comes, it comes, but I have no idea when that will be. I know one thing, though, the capital can never take Lenore Dove from me again. They never really did in the first place. Nothing you can take from me was ever worth keeping, and she is the most precious thing I've ever known. When I tell her that, she always says, I love you like all fire, and I reply, I love you like all fire, too. That epilogue really saved a lot of the book, I'm not gonna lie. The mention of Katniss and Peeta is crazy. I didn't love this book. I think I'm gonna give it around 3.54 stars. I still don't know where it fits into my ranking, but I definitely like it less than Mockingjay, so I just don't know if I like Ballad or Sunrise better. And that's hard. I just think the way that this book explored its themes was a lot more shallow. We've already gotten the propaganda messaging in a more nuanced way in Mockingjay because it was District 13 versus Capitol propaganda. We already know that the Capitol has propaganda and changes the narrative, specifically for the games. I was interested in the themes of like the submission of being governed by the few because I think that's very relevant, and we only really get one conversation about it specifically with Plutarch when he asks. He's like, why do you guys submit to it? Like, don't you do it by choice? And everyone's like, no. I wanted more. I just wanted more. And the first part 1, probably my second favorite opening of any Hunger Games book. I love part 1 so much. Part 1 was so good. And then part 2 dragged for me. Being in the games is like my least favorite part, and that's just personal. But the fact that we already know how it's gonna play out, yes, makes me interested in what actually happened, but you also have to engage me because they're literally just saying the same things over and over again. And then Haymitch's entire plan to like blow up the arena or whatever, I still don't understand. What was because blowing up the arena doesn't stop the games. And I get that he has like this rebellious thinking. It doesn't make sense that he wants to blow up the arena. Even like when he tried to like blow up the arena when he was the last tribute left, that still doesn't make sense to me, and it's never really explained, but it's just such a big part of part 2 and 3. So this book is fan service, and I'm okay with that. If we're getting a 5th Hunger Games book, if we're getting a second Hunger Games book 15 years after the original trilogy came out, I would hope it explores some things, and it kind of does, but the way I felt reading the first chapter was unlike any experience I've had, so I'm okay with it. I don't know if I love it beyond just that one like quick reaction though, because yes, it's interesting that now we know that Haymitch knew Katniss's parents and was friends with them, and we got like a Malark, we got Effie, we got Mags and Wyrus and Beatty, and I like the inclusion of like the Victors because it makes sense, because this book also really sets up the trilogy, but I also did not love the inclusion of Lucy Gray, because I love how Lucy Gray's fate is like the song, like you don't know what happened to her, and even though we know that she probably died because she has headstone, I don't know, I still don't know if she actually died though, because I feel like the headstone could just be like a memorial type thing, they just put it there when she went missing, so it doesn't matter. Like, her fate shouldn't matter, but I find it odd that Haymitch was, like, inspired by her anyway, because, like, yeah, she reminds him of Lenore, but I thought that was kind of cheap to just, like, bring it back. Is this necessary? No. I'm gonna be someone, it's not. And it's not like Ballad is necessary either. I really prefer the themes it explores, like the state of nature debate and social contract, whereas this, I don't love the way it's explored in this. And I like this better, obviously, because it's Haymitch, and I love Haymitch, and I will never hate him. I will say this is the first time I've ever bought a book the day it's come out and didn't read that release, and I don't regret that. Like, usually, I would never buy a book if I didn't know I was gonna like it. And If I had read this, would I have bought this? I don't think so, but again, I had like so much fun just like scribbling in. So my next video is definitely going to be more of a deep dive into this and everything and how it connects to the series. Unfortunately, I don't think this book starts conversations. I think we can all feel bad for Haymitch, but that doesn't necessarily start conversations the way that The Hunger Games did. Catching Fire really has a lot of themes to Victor's. Mockingjay is a lot about war. Ballad is all about like state nature, social contract. This, I don't know. I can't imagine talking to somebody about the themes presented in this unless there are to back up what's already here. I feel bad. Haymitch should have gotten a better book. The way I felt reading this was unlike anything I've ever felt, even like within the Hunger Games, and I feel so differently when I'm reading the Hunger Games, and the fact that it was Haymitch, and it was just the fact that we know that he's not gonna win. And okay, I guess let's talk about the epilogue, because the epilogue is also something I did not expect, and I kind of called it though. With the book and everything, I was like, guys, he's gonna bring up the book. I like the inclusion. I don't think that's cheap, because the whole point of Sunrise on the Reaping was for cycles and how you escape that and try to keep going, and we never really got to see him try. It said that he tried for 25 years to mentor his tributes, and that Katniss is like the sunrise and the reaping or whatever. She's the one who finally kept that sun from rising on the reaping day, and I think that's cool, but I don't know. So I will see you guys in the next video. Please let me know what you thought.